Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Let's have a debate and a discussion, an inspiring discussion, debate concerning achieving women's economic empowerment through sustainable consumption and production. Everyone knows how important women are when you go into sustainable consumption and production, and how women influence their families, their works, where they work, how we have really good opportunities, and our will, that's our way to manage things to choice, to have the alternative to choose things and to make sure that we can come together with nature. So I'm very honored to moderate this session, okay? And you know that's not easy for me because everyone that knows me knows that I like too much to talk. But I have to manage my girls, okay? And first of all, I'd like to share the main objectives of the plenary session that we are going to discuss now. So we'd like, first of all, to share initiatives, experience and best practices on how the transition to SCP can concretely enable women's economic empowerment while addressing the challenge of gender inequalities. So it's the first point. It's very interesting, meaning when you go into developing world and emerging economies, how the challenges that you have today and the role of women in my society is a good example. The second objective is deep dive into the key role of governments and business must play in designing and implementing SCP strategies, policies that fully integrate women's economic empowerment measures, new institutional cultures, and business practice. And finally, to discuss the importance of a whole society approach to women's economic empowerment and gender equality in the context of sustainable consumption production strategies to tackle diverse social norms and promote positive role models. So the format is this. We have Astrid. Come on, come close, because it's so informal. We're in Rio de Janeiro, okay? You're not in Brussels, okay? Let's relax. So we have Astrid, my good friend. Let me introduce her because she's my good friend. But also, she's the head of the Biodiversity Convention, okay? And also former co-chair of International Resource Panel. And Astrid is really a fantastic woman and professional, considering environmental. She's a diplomat, no? Used to be. Yeah, she's still a diplomat, okay? And I think that we have really very honored to have her, she here as a keynote to share her experience and more than this. I'd like that to share your ambition now as a woman, consider the leadership of the global biodiversity agenda. This is not about the past, it's about you in the future and how we as women can make the difference, consider the challenge that we have ahead. So I'd like to invite you to have the floor, okay? Open your heart, okay? Be absolutely free, creative as I know that you used to be. And more than this, please be provocative. Because if we need to change, and if you want to change, you have to have women on board. More than this, with leadership. And you are a leader, so join us, share with us your thoughts. And more than this, please provoke us. Because after her, I invite other panelists to join us here on the floor, and let's discuss their experience, their vision, their challenges, and more than this, their commitments, and also responsibilities to come together, consider the diversity of societies and situations around the world, and how gender agenda is impact or not consider sustainable consumption and production. But my dear, join us, okay? You have the floor, and I'll be there, and be free. And I suggest, I don't like the idea that you stay behind, okay? Come closer, be informal. Unfortunately, I cannot share caipirinha at this time, but later, okay? I invite you to drink, have good bars around here. Or here, you have a good restaurant, go there. The cuisine from Pará, from Belém, it's very nice, and have a good caipirinha. So, and don't forget, caipirinha is also vegan. Don't forget it, okay? Welcome. Okay. I don't know, let's check it. Okay,
yeah, this works. So thank you so much, Isabella. Good afternoon, just about everybody. Isabella unusually forgot one thing. I'm now a UN official, and as a UN official, of course, I cannot be provocative. So can Can I? Okay. So,
You know that you have a new Nine Nation momentum, so be provocative.
so no, I just wanted to use this occasion to share with you a few thoughts on an agenda that really is one agenda, but unfortunately is being treated as if it was various debates led by various people that don't talk together enough. And you may all wonder, as I wondered briefly when I saw the subject, so why would the head of the Biodiversity Convention be here as a key speaker? I mean, I have the obvious qualification, I'm a woman, so I grant you that. But for the rest, that's perhaps not the immediately obvious choice. But the point I wanted to make in the next 5-10 minutes is the one I've already made, that we are talking about one agenda. Women's economic empowerment through sustainable consumption and production lies at the heart of the required global push for a future of living in harmony with nature. Living in harmony with nature is the overarching 2050 objective of the Convention on Biological Diversity. Now, we all know that it requires a massive transformation of our societies. It's the famous whole of society endeavor. So we cannot leave half of society, in that case women, behind. Otherwise, we will drag the world backwards. Now, I don't want to sound like a US presidential candidate, but we're not going to go backwards, clearly. So in order to go forward, we need all hands on deck, and half of those hands are women's hands. So that's very clear. So the choices that are made in our corporate boardrooms and in policy-making spheres, just as in households, are about investment and lifestyles that will shape our future. And for SCP to help decouple socioeconomic development from the destruction of nature, as it must also be articulated around human rights, as reflected in the 2030 Agenda, and of course in SDG 12 in particular. And of course, the International Resource Panel has, of course, already conclusively demonstrated that sustainable consumption and production is a must if we want to succeed in halting and reversing biodiversity loss. And women are both among the primary custodians of nature and amongst those that suffer most and first from its destruction. So to repeat, women empowerment is indispensable for achieving sustainable consumption and production. Sustainable consumption and production is indispensable for achieving the SDGs and also living in harmony with nature. So that means women need to be brought on board as SCP advocates, as leaders, as practitioners, innovators, decision makers, opinion shapers in households, of course, but also in businesses and in society. And their economic empowerment is not just a means to an end, it is a fundamental human right, and as such, it will be a catalyst of societal progress. Now, when we discuss women's economic empowerment, we tend to focus on removing the barriers to equal participation in the workforce. We talk about ensuring fair wages and providing equal opportunities for entrepreneurship or for assessing the leadership levels of our companies and organizations. And all, of course, this is crucial, is a must, but it's also just part of the puzzle. In reality, what is needed for economic empowerment of women is this much more far-reaching economic transformation, a human rights-based, multidimensional approach that weaves gender equality in the DNA of our society. So, if I then look at what the Convention on Biological Diversity has to contribute to that debate, and that, of course, is now my role, we managed to adopt 2 years ago in Montreal something called the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Agenda. That is a truly transformative agenda for having a different relationship with nature, for respecting nature, for giving back to nature. It's a regenerative agenda, some call it nature positive. It is about redefining how we as human beings interact with those around us, be they fellow humans or be they actually animals or plants. And then it's useful to look at how this framework has been constructed. And immediately we find that within the 23 action targets that we need to achieve by 2030, we have target 16, which is very clearly about sustainable consumption and production choices, and about reducing waste and overconsumption. There's this efficiency debate, which is coming to the forefront and which you've just had here as well. And we have target 23 about gender equality and the gender responsive approach to biodiversity action, which has been underpinned with a specific gender plan on action, adopted also 2 years ago, which sort of has specific provisions to promote women's empowerment and their entrepreneurial opportunities in biodiversity-based sectors and along biodiversity-based supply chains. So ensuring that people and women in particular are encouraged to and able to make sustainable consumption choices requires then supportive policy, legislative or regulatory frameworks, improving education and of course access to relevant information at all levels, including when it comes to the choices that people and women have to make as consumers. So then, in line with our framework, women and girls must have equal opportunity and capacity to contribute to all our 3 objectives. So also to the sustainable use of biodiversity, and when it comes to the sharing of benefits from the use of biodiversity, and notably from the use of genetic resources and digital sequence information related to these resources. This is why at COP16 we hope to finalize a new framework with a new fund about this genetic resources and the digital sequencing information with specific rules for women and specific access for women to those funds. So we see if that can be agreed. So all of that is for me to say, and I think I'm coming slowly, you'll be pleased to know, to a close, that women's economic empowerment is inextricably linked to the health of nature. The health of nature, that is one fundamental truth, is crucial for our economies. There can be no economy without biodiversity. Biodiversity is the bedrock of our economic systems. At the same time, those economic systems are the ones that are the drivers of degradation of biodiversity degradation and biodiversity loss. And in many instances, biodiversity degradation is fueled by unbridled patterns of consumption and production, and all the hard-won gains that we have made over time in women's economic empowerment are then pushed back by this loss of biodiversity. So just to give you an example, the time spent for the collection of increasingly elusive food and water obviously is mostly spent by women on that, and obviously reduces the time available for education and income-generating activities. So the benefits for women of the world to embrace sustainable consumption and production are immense. And I could give you many more examples, but then I'll be here for 50 minutes, so I will not do that. But let me just conclude by saying that empowering women to play a central role in environmental conservation is not only a matter of justice, but it is a matter of having a strategic approach to all of us living together on a healthy planet with acceptable lifestyles and leaving a planet behind on which also future generations can live with an acceptable quality of life. So we need to support women with their traditional knowledge and practices, because they can contribute so much and so significantly to sustainable resource management and biodiversity protection. And we see this discussion in particular now in the indigenous communities around the world, and specifically here in Latin America, in Brazil and in Colombia, where our next COP will take place, where it is the women in these traditional communities that are the storytellers. They are the ones that pass on the knowledge to the next generation. And now we find ourselves in a situation where some things, this is eco-romanticism, this traditional knowledge stuff. But then the scientists come in, and what do they find? They just underpin what many indigenous people and local communities have known for a very long time. So they validate this indigenous knowledge. At our COP16, this will be about elevating these voices of indigenous people, and notably indigenous women and youth, to be not just the guardians and custodians of biodiversity there, but to be the spokesmen and the leaders for nature protection worldwide. So let us ensure that women have access to resources, including financial resources. It's a major preoccupation for us. The funding gap for biodiversity remains huge, but as we get funding, let us always bear in mind that women have specific needs and specific things to offer. Let us work on women's education, training, job opportunities, and technologies, all of that is needed to drive sustainable consumption and production forward, and therefore to help us with the protection of nature. So in a few weeks, and now I really come to a conclusion, COP16 of the Convention on Biological Diversity will meet in Cali, Colombia. The presidency, Colombian incoming presidency, has said this will be the COP de la Gente. So this really is about starting a new movement for nature. It's called Peace with Nature. That's the theme of our COP, Paz con la Naturaleza. So it's about bringing all people together, creating this new movement, and having women and youth at the forefront of it. We will have a huge green zone, the biggest in the history of our convention, where we will have a gender day as a parallel event, together with lots of dialogue, events, and activities to amplify opportunities for empowerment and leadership. So thank you so much to the One Planet Network to have a chance to share a few thoughts and to tell you what we're doing on the Convention on Biological Diversity. And I hope I've made a case to just explain that it's not, one story there about SCP, another story here about women, and the third story there about nature. But no, it is the three together, and only if we bring them together will we succeed on any of those agendas. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Astrid. Very good. Almost disruptive, but provocative, I think so. But it's true, it's just a joke. We are good friends. I'm so sorry to be so informal. But as a former minister, I can do everything. It's so free. It's true. But let's do it, girls and guys, of course. Now, it's a moment to have our panelists together, okay? And we have to manage time because you know that we have lunchtime, but we do our best, okay? But relax. We are in Brazil, okay? Relax. So it's very interesting because I know part of them in person. I'm very proud to have you here with me together today in Rio de Janeiro. I'd like to invite the first one, Mrs. Isa Farham. I'm right, the pronunciation? This is, okay, in Brazilian it's Isa, okay, relax. And it's really important, I'd like to introduce her. You are on the 18 members of United Nations Secretary General's high-level panel on women economic empowerment back 2016. It's so powerful, okay? It's so beautiful also, no? It's a beautiful woman, I agree. Come on, girl. Come on. It's true. It's really, really important, really good. Yes, it's true. It's true. Come on. Okay. So it is very interesting that you are very passionate about this topic. As an example, you urge the government of Pakistan to establish a Women Empowerment Council with the federal and provincial constitutions leading towards the passing of a national bill on the theme of equality means business. Okay, so it's fantastic. No? You can imagine that this beautiful woman is so powerful and you'll be able to change things. Yes, thank you. Okay, now together with her, you have other important woman, important leader, Mrs. Tarsila Rivera Zeya. Please join us. She's from Peru. She is an important indigenous activist, a recognized defender of the rights of indigenous girls, women, youth, and peoples from the Quechua Chanca nation of Peru. She is a neighbor. Okay? You know that Brazil, this is something, as a Brazilian, I'm very, very proud of this. Brazil is a country that have peace with our neighbors in more than 157 years. Okay, and this is important value because we come into the world today, the conflicts and the wars, how impressive they are today, and how important for us to have our neighbors together in peace, fighting against nature destruction. So welcome, my dear friend. I'm very proud to meet you here in Rio de Janeiro. Okay, and I'll be back soon to ask you some questions in such a way that you can also provoke us. Okay, as Astrid illustrates very well the role of indigenous women and how we can change things. The third one is from Brazil. This is Mrs. Cici Alves da Silva. Cici, join us. Okay. She holds the position of General Coordinator of Bioeconomy and Circular Economy at the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Service, with the mission of promoting green circular inclusive economy through programs that support the national industry. You are very engaged in drafting Brazil's first circular economy strategy at the moment. Good luck. Okay. And I'd like here, yes, it's, first of all, as a Brazilian, I'm very proud that finally the Brazilian government joined this platform, this challenge of circular economy, together with the new momentum of industry in this country. Okay, we have a new policy, a new plan of industrial development. This brings the green industry, and I think I'm very confident that under your leadership and also the minister, that's the vice president, the minister of industry and trade in Brazil is the vice president of our country, and his leadership is very important to have a really robust ambition considering circular economy and the bioeconomy. Yesterday, finally, G20 approved the high standards on bioeconomy, okay? And this is really very important to move the pieces, not only biodiversity, but also nature. And I know that it's also very important for our industrial challenges when you go under the presidency of President Lula, the leadership of President Lula, to change these things faster than we're doing today. So welcome, thank you for joining us. And together with you, I'd like to invite another Brazilian woman, Fabiana. Where is Fabiana? Is there? Okay, Fabiana Caricati. Okay. You worked in a multinational company, NGO, and a bank before deciding to start your own business. This is really, really fantastic because she managed an important lodge in Anavilhanas National Park. This is in Amazonian region. I was there 2 weeks ago. It's fantastic. She had the big challenges to make this business more, not only sustainable, but something that to make sure that we can promote development together with nature protection. And more than this, she's so young, okay? And I like so much the idea that women, how strongly the women coming to go into economic empowerment. So welcome, thank you for joining us to share your experience, your vision. And finally, you have in person Miss Aline Souza de Silva. Aline is here? Where is Aline? I don't know. Ah, she's here. Come on, Aline. Vem, Aline. She's another fantastic woman. Would you like to sit here? Ou there? Quer sentar aí? Quer ficar aí? Está confortável? Sem problema? Então tá bom. Ok. Bom, Aline, ela é a presidente, ou diretora-presidente da Centocop, que é uma... Oh, sorry, speak in Portuguese, sorry. Okay, sorry. She's the president director of Centcoop. The Central Cooperative recycle materials work on the Federal District. In Federal District is Brazil, where the capital of the country is. I was born there. And in surrounding areas, and the representative national waste pickers movement at the Instituto Federal. This is one of the most important movements to go in Brazil because you have the waste pickers as really not only come together with public sector to support how to pick garbage and also to promote recycling, but more than this, to become a powerful political voice in our country. Okay? I have been working in this area the last 40 years, and I remember last century when we started discussing in IBAMA, the Federal Environmental Agency, how we could buy paper. We can use our paper, there is the waste, to come into the cooperatives and to stimulate the pickers to come together with us. And I remember that the first reaction of the society, even the employees in Bamba, said, we are completely wrong. This is a huge mistake. And now she's there. The movement is so beautiful. It's fantastic, really a powerful political movement. And I do hope that these elections, you can have some of you in our legislative systems representing our society, the diversity of our society. Be welcome and very proud that you can join us today, okay? And last but not the least, you have Mrs. Banji Shona. She'll be here not in person, I'm sorry, Portuguese. And you have a record messages and she'll be the last one, okay? So let's, it's okay? Play the video at the end, okay? Do you agree? Of course. Before ending the section, I'll invite the video to come here. Not the girl, but the video. Okay, let's start flying. Okay, let's do it. So I think that we have a round of questions here, and I invite, of course, Fisa. It's terrible. I'm doing really hard my Brazilian accent. To answer a question that you have this screenplay here, you know, because this is United Nations, but you know when I manage things, not necessarily have all of these questions, okay? But I know your experience is so fantastic, and I'd like to ask you, you have played an important role in the United Nations, Secretary Generals, high-level panel Parará that I explained before, and but also your country, Pakistan, as an advocate for women's rights with multiple tangible initiatives in public and private sector. Based exactly on this big picture, in your experience, what is coming, like that, I'd like to provoke you, if you can tell us why women's economic empowerment should be a core objective of the international agenda and national strategies for sustainable consumption production. How your society indeed today embrace this agenda or not? After all, consider the inequality, the political inequalities, how the world is changing. You know that to have the world in movement, you need to understand that to know better the diversity of societies around the world, how women could be together to connect the dots, to connect societies, to make sure that based on our diversity of political and economic situation, we must come together. It's for you.
Thank you so much. Is it working?
Yes. No, yes.
Hello?
Speak.
Working?
Go.
Nope. Oh, that's working.
Hello.
That's working. Yeah.
Are you sure?
If you want. Great. Okay, guys, thank you so very much. Pleasure to be here. And as much as I like to pen down my thoughts when I'm sitting in front of all of you, it's always natural, heart to heart. And I would like to do the same here. And I think that's what we're here to do. So the agenda for women's economic empowerment, apart from the formal introduction you heard about me, is very dear to me. I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you how the journey has evolved and why it is important to understand that. So primarily, obviously, being a woman, it's an agenda that I want to work on for the women of the world. But personally, the first 10 years of my career was being the CEO of two companies, one in the energy sector and the second leading a microfinance entity, and I was the CEO of both the companies. And one realizes then how rare a commodity it is to be a woman in the energy space, which is now gradually changing, but this is about 10 years ago itself, when I used to be literally the only woman in Pakistan working in the energy space. Moving on, when I became the advisor to the UN Secretary General's high-level panel on women's economic empowerment, you realized the complex issues on women's economic empowerment that are around the world and the complex web of solutions that one must understand to achieve concrete results. And that complex web of solutions then includes all kinds of stakeholders, governments, businesses, civil society, and the individual, the woman themselves. But now, when I'm working with the private sector, when I'm working with the governments, when I'm working with different stakeholders on cross-cutting the agenda of women's empowerment across policy, across businesses, across development projects, across development budgets, I realize that it's a business case. And that is what the end goal is. That is what the end learning is. The world has transitioned. We have all evolved to the point where we've realized simply that empowering women is not just a social issue anymore. It's not just a feminist issue anymore. It's not just something to do on International Women's Day, take a few pictures and put them on the wall. It is a business case. It is an economic case. No sustainable economy can be developed or can be sustained without being inclusive, without involving 50% of your population. McKinsey has done a recent report based on which the UN Secretary General's high-level panel was objectified on. It's the gender pay parity report, and I would really encourage all of you to look at that report. McKinsey did a survey of top Fortune 500 companies, and with data, with stats, proved that companies that had more women in their management positions and in their boards outperformed companies that did not by 26% of profitability. So here you go. It's a profitability issue now, right? Empowering women is an economic case. It's a business imperative. So that made it very clear that whatever we're talking about, be it sustainable economies, circular economies, green economy, no discussion can happen without involving women at every tier of the discussion. And when I mean every tier, it means from grassroots to the private sector companies, to the leadership, to the policy reforms. And it has to go right up that ladder, right? And generally speaking, also empowered women, I think, make more sustainable choices, and they're more aware of sustainable consumption by virtue of it, I think. Now, why it's important? I think the case has been established. It's a business case, and there are numerous statistics around it. There's numerous data around it. What needs to be done? What needs to be done is all stakeholders need to step up in their individual capacities. Not one stakeholder can do this alone. It's not just the job of the governments. It's not just the job of the private sector businesses. It's not just the job of the civil society. It is the job of each and every stakeholder to come together and collaborate. The governments need to come up with gender-sensitized policy reforms. They need to take a bottom-up approach to really understand the needs of the grassroots women to make those high-level, top-level national policies. The private sector, the business sector, needs to work on both the demand and the supply side. Trainings for women, education for women. STEM sector needs to be more inclusive of women. The grassroots communities, they need to step up with their voices, because that's really where the realities are. And in all my high-level work with the UN, I feel without being connected to the grassroots, you really can't make actionable and realistic policy reforms. But at the end of the day, I always say this, that one stakeholder which is very key in this whole discussion is the women themselves. And me being from Pakistan, going back 20 years, being the only woman in the energy sector, sitting on a table with 10 men, 100 men, and not letting that push me back, I think that's what women empowerment is about. When each one of us takes that responsibility individually to step up and realize the fact that being a woman is more of a strength than a weakness. But I always say it's only possible when one realizes it. So I think in the end, all stakeholders need to come together and step up and take up responsibility to really achieve inclusive and sustainable development.
I like to match it when you come to discuss share responsibilities, because we used to discuss rights, but not necessarily obligations. And I understand when you go into the women world, you used to have this balanced approach, because you understand that you have all responsibilities, okay? And when you go into energy sector, I know how complex this sector is, this economic sector, and also because it's a geopolitical sector. You know that you have this geopolitical game also, always based on the energy. And all the transformation that you need in the world to face or to tackle climate change and biodiversity loss and the vulnerability of natural resource availability in the world, this means that we need to understand the role of energy. We cannot move the pieces to a transformative world without energy. And all the solutions are absolutely intensive in natural resource and energy. Okay, so I think that is very interesting when you go to SCP, and I understand that you represent this very well, when this come in the developing world or from a developing world country, a developing country or emerging economy, that you connect the dots and be, okay, we need to change, consider one of the critical economic sector that is so complex to move the pieces. And this is very valuable when you go into the solutions to discuss if you want to buy a mobile, for example, I'm buying energy. Yeah. And this is very interesting to understand the empowerment and economic sector and how our voice must come, okay, to discuss things in different ways. So I'm trying to provoke you, of course, but I think I'll be back soon, okay? I'll be back soon, because now I'd like to invite a Brazilian girl, or a Brazilian lady, if you prefer, to join us. E eu vou falar em português para ela poder, I'm sorry, I have to speak in Portuguese now, in such a way that it can be easier for her, okay? So, eu quero convidar a nossa catadora, tá? É você agora que vai falar. Posso falar? Eu vou falar em português para facilitar você, tá bom? Ok? Na mesma direção, Aline, do que foi perguntado aqui como a sua experiência no Brasil, num movimento social tão importante, que ao mesmo tempo tem a sua existência ligada às questões ambientais, como transformativo é o papel da mulher nesse movimento, a sua experiência presidindo essa cooperativa no Distrito Federal, que é a capital do Brasil, que até pouco tempo não tinha um aterro sanitário, uma organização necessária, regulatória, para poder atender, fazer não só a reciclagem, mas lidar com os catadores de maneira justa. Como que você olha a sua experiência hoje, desses anos todos, e como que essa transição para uma economia circular, esses desafios da economia circular, isso impacta o movimento dos catadores? E seja muito bem-vinda. Tá? Obrigada por estar aqui.
Obrigada, ministra. Bom dia a todos e todas. É um enorme prazer estar aqui participando desse painel. Quero já parabenizar a todos os organizadores e as instituições envolvidas. Quero cumprimentar aqui também todas as mulheres aqui presentes nessa mesa. Ser catadora já na terceira geração da minha família é muito importante para mim, porque mostra quanto a gente está distante ainda de conseguir chegar no momento, né, na situação ideal para a situação dos catadores, mas são desafios que faz parte, né, e ser a primeira mulher catadora aos 21 anos, ser eleita presidente da maior central de cooperativas de catadores no Brasil, para mim também foi uma missão dada que já se completa aí 15 anos de trabalho, de muita luta, e tenho aqui também o prazer de poder te agradecer, ministra, enquanto ministra do Meio Ambiente, porque nos tornou 200 delegados naquela conferência de meio ambiente e nos fez trabalhar na formulação de políticas públicas essenciais, não só para o nosso trabalho, mas para o nosso país. E eu acredito que o nosso trabalho ele é tão essencial quanto o serviço de coletas à população brasileira, né? Nós geramos 80 milhões de toneladas de resíduos todos os anos no nosso país. 45% dessa fração de resíduos são orgânicos e essa fração de resíduo, de forma manejada inadequadamente, torna o nosso trabalho cada dia mais difícil. E o meu papel é esse aqui, é de utilizar um espaço de fala para poder levar essa realidade às pessoas, levar essa realidade às instituições e mostrar que a reciclagem ela tem cor e gênero e que esses desafios da falta de participação e de engajamento das instituições e de pessoas traz um processo de trabalho não muito digno às nossas catadoras. Nós somos 72% de catadoras só na Centicop, lá no Distrito Federal. Brasília conta com 5 centrais hoje de cooperativas. A nossa central, que é a maior do Brasil, ela tem 20 cooperativas e 700 catadores, 72% são mulheres. O nosso perfil nacional é de uma estimativa de 800 mil a 1 milhão de catadores e catadoras, num total de 80% mulheres. Então, sempre vai ter uma mulher ali colocando, apresentando esse desafio, mostrando avanços e também colocando a importância das instituições para a gente conseguir mudar essa realidade, porque são as cooperativas instrumentos de organização dessa grande parte dos catadores e lideradas por mulheres, né? E como a força de trabalho ela é feminina, obviamente a gente está aqui para trazer esses anseios. Nós que temos dupla e até tripla jornada de trabalho, eu sou mãe de 7 filhos, então a lei só 7. É isso. Então, a lei, e ainda tentei na pandemia estudar, fazer direito, então a gente sabe o quanto que é o desafio, né, de ser uma catadora, de ser uma presidente de uma cooperativa, de fazer parte do Movimento Nacional de Catadoras e Catadores, que é o MNCR, que tem uma atuação no Brasil inteiro e agora está liderando, a gente fica muito orgulhosa de falar, a gente está liderando a IALP, né, que é a Aliança Global dos Recicladores, pela presença lá do catador Severino de Lima de Natal. Então, a gente está ocupando espaço, né? A gente está conquistando espaço, a gente está buscando mostrar que a reciclagem é a solução para o manejo adequado de resíduos sólidos, né? Então, não tem como a gente trabalhar de forma individualizada. A nossa essência é engajar pessoas, é trabalhar nesse instinto cooperativista e mostrar que não há uma única solução. A reciclagem ela passa por várias mãos, é um setor muito coligado, integrado, e o meu desafio aqui, enquanto mulher, é mostrar para vocês que, além de ser mãe de 7 filhos, esposa, filha, presidente de cooperativa, representante da Secretaria Nacional da Mulher e Juventude na União Nacional das Cooperativas, que é um braço político do Movimento Nacional de Catadores, eu também sou cidadã, então o meu papel é mostrar que precisamos, sim, discutir mais essa questão dos resíduos. A questão das emergências climáticas, né, ela é mitigada pelo esse trabalho das catadoras, né, como eu falei, a reciclagem ela tem cor e gênero, então nós somos 72%, é um perfil nacional de mulheres negras, né, de catadores negros que fazem parte desse trabalho, então é muito importante para mim poder estar aqui Eu tive a oportunidade também de poder falar um pouco do trabalho e da questão dos resíduos em Nova York, nesse ano, lá no TED. Então, trazer também o nosso trabalho aqui. Acredito que, diante das próximas perguntas, eu posso trazer mais informações aqui para vocês. Obrigada.
Certamente, super obrigada. Sim, o meu depoimento pessoal é um dos movimentos políticos mais fantásticos que eu conheço no mundo todo. Eu tenho muita honra de ter participado do processo de construção do movimento, de ter sido responsável pela regulação da lei de resíduos sólidos no Brasil, que deu a eles o espaço político e econômico para realizarem com escala o movimento global. Né? E quando ela fez menção aos 200 delegados, era na Rio mais 20, né? Que nós colocamos, eu presidia, colocamos 200 catadores discutindo exatamente a Agenda 2030, etc., no Brasil. Eu tenho muito orgulho de vocês, como brasileira, mais do que isso. Eu acho que tem um compromisso, de fato, onde as mulheres têm voz de liderança. E é incrível como os homens são doces, né, por causa da nossa liderança. Isso é um grande ganho. Isso é verdade. Eu adoro o Roberto, adoro todo o pessoal. E, para o presidente Lula, é um dos movimentos políticos mais importantes da carreira política dele no Brasil. Tá? Então, é incrível você remover o preconceito, porque é construir tendo que lidar com o preconceito em relação a alguém que cata lixo na rua. Tá? E as pessoas não têm dimensão, ainda por cima, negros, né? Muitas vezes vivendo em periferia, sem nenhuma alternativa, o julgamento do preconceito permanente na sociedade. E eles transformaram isso numa grande história de sustentabilidade, de inclusão política, de realização e de compromisso. Ela é a terceira geração. É impressionante. Eu acho assim, fantástico. Se a gente quer erradicar pobreza, extrema pobreza, fome, degradação ambiental, a gente tem que entender o que significa, como foi dito aqui, pela FISA, a diversidade de atores, de stakeholders na sala. Mas nós temos que estar comprometidos com essas pessoas e entender que eles são parte também de uma sociedade mais justa. Passam por eles as soluções que nós discutimos tanto internacionalmente e nacionalmente. Parabéns, super orgulhosa. Agora, não tenha mais filhos, já teve até na minha cota. Né? Então, por favor, segura aí. Mas vamos lá, eu vou chamar também uma outra... I'm sorry. I have to now to invite another powerful woman from Latin America. She is really an indigenous people leader, and she's from Peru, and I think that Tarsila, please, you have the floor, and I'd like to invite you to share not only your vision, experience, but your understanding when you come into the challenge of 2030 agenda, and how indigenous people coming today in this innovative political momentum in the world to respect your movement, more than this, but respect your role if you want to achieve solutions, consider sustainability, and also tackle climate change and biodiversity loss. Please join us. Welcome to my country. I'm very happy that to have a woman from Peru here together with us. And tell us, you have important voice, you're the leader, an important voice on indigenous women around the world and also 9 nations. Please tell us in 5 minutes, because I have to manage time, but to have a second round, okay? Your vision, your experience, and how you think that you can change things in short-term perspectives. We need to have a pace, faster pace to what we have today. How we, as women, can bring this new really power or this new force to change things. Back to you. Thank you again for coming to join us here.
Thank you very much. For me, it's an honor to stay here. I'm Quechua speaker from Inca civilization. And I'm very proud not only to be here, but listen to other sisters, very strong and very innovative, doing something to resolve the problems occasioned by others. That's our challenge and our role. And we want to be recognized on that role. We are contributing to the solution of the problems. No? The grassroots women and indigenous women want to be considered as part of the solution and not only to be considered as assistant of, how do you say, program assistant or, in programs for assistance. Because when we talk about the agenda SDG, many of our countries are implementing that kind of programs because they have to show something about the eradication of poverty. But giving gifts are not eradicating the poverty. We think it's necessary to consider us as subject of change and subject of solutions. That's the point of view and practice and philosophy of indigenous women. And as indigenous peoples, as many of you know, we are trying to be recognized in our both rights, in collective rights as peoples and individual rights as persons, as individuals. In this case, as indigenous women, as you know, we are in the communities and we consider that it's necessary to be recognized our role as persons who take care the natural resources. Yeah, that's one. But including the seeds for food and the knowledge to resolve problems of health in the communities because the governments or states are not present everywhere. And in this case, when we talk about empowerment, we consider our right to economy. How we can develop our proper economy from our proper capability and from our proper techniques and resources. We show through the history that we take care of the seeds or the plants and take care of the natural resources, and we are waiting to be recognized officially and participate in the positions, how do you say, in the position of decision. We want to stay there participating in the decisions. When the government want to talk about eradicate the poverty, we want to say how, not only receive the gifts from the cities. That's the difference. The other thing is about our knowledge and indigenous knowledge related with biodiversity and what is happening with the impact of climate change. We are participating on that processes and trying to speak aloud about our contributions. The impact of climate change is principally in the rural area, everywhere in all ecosystems where we are as indigenous peoples, but we are waiting what will be the solution to how do you say, to have low impact. And if we talk about contribution for food, for example, what is happening with the disappearance of seeds or changing the quality of land for agriculture or for food production. In this case, we need to have a dialogue between business and industry and scientific academia, researchers, decision policy makers, because we need to put on the table all the possibilities to be sustainable, how we still are alive in the communities, because we have some knowledge to contribute to continuing living with health in environmental, in good conditions. That's why we think it's necessary to have conscience about economy, but not only economy, because the empowerment for indigenous women means to have the possibility to exercise all rights, individual and collective. And when we talk about economic empowerment too and related with business, we want to be there trying to decide how will be good for us the industrial activities or business activities in our area. We are very sad because the decisions of our governments or states many times is against the sustainability, against the preservation of natural resources. But we need to look for other kind of activities trying to preserve the natural resources like clean water, like the biodiversity for food and health. That's the first part.
Great, Tarsila. It's fantastic because you connect some dots. We discussed, for example, food and food security and hunger and the social inequalities and also private education, but you came with some layers like, for example, seeds. This is life. Okay, this is the key point. We're not only addressing the natural resources, but we're addressing life. If you want to keep producing or generating life, we need to understand how we can have different lands, and indigenous people use these different lands to come together with nature and to keep generating life. Our region, and we have this map. This is a fantastic map from NASA, United States, that shows how the countries are rich or not to generate life, in generating life. And Brazil is so fat, okay? And also South America, because we have sun, we have biomass, okay, and we have water. But now, the moment that we're discussing things means that 30 years or 35 years after we have a Rio 92 conference, it came with sustainability. And after a Rio Plus 20 conference that came with 2030 agenda and also sustainable development goals, everything's changed. It's true, what's happening in my country today, the drought, the climate change happening, the extreme events happening in the country, and this is really a good example that's very illustrative how fast nature is coming. It's not only because we have droughts and we have floods, it's because the dimension, the scalability, and also how fast. It's not more a slow pace. And the scientists, they're worried about this because they cannot translate this in modeling, in data, in accountability that will help the decision makers to move the pieces. So you have really a momentum, it's not only in Brazil, it's around the world. You have the collapse of the water machine in the world, is what the scientists say. But you cannot move the pieces, in my opinion, based on tragedies. We need to manage hope if you want to come together. And this, I think, that's a powerful message from her, from Tarsila, because indigenous women understand that we have these cycles in the history of the planet of humankind, and you need to learn how to read nature if you want to take responsibility and be part of the decision-making process. So I'm trying to figure out here how to reshape things if you want to discuss the empowerment of women, not as we propose in Agenda 21 in 992, now as we have been proposing only 2013. I was responsible for this, okay, I was there. But my feeling when we have the new generation and we have the thoughts that have shared here by you, is that we need to frame things in innovative ways. And for this, we need acknowledgement, not only the traditional acknowledgement, but scientific ones, and how this should come together with our experience, our political will to be part of the solutions, and our political will to overcome from short-term to long-term perspective. And probably when you go in short-term perspectives, we need to understand the trade-offs. And you go into trade-offs, we need to manage better, in my opinion, the social service protections. We need to come and to ground things to preserve society. And again, the women's voice will be very important to manage better trade-offs in short-term perspectives. Okay, so thank you very much for your thoughts, your experience, and also your vision. And now I go to the second round. We need to go faster than we are doing today because people are hungry, and I'm so pragmatic. But I'd like to invite to have the perspective of the government and also business leaders or business sector that are here. And we have two important Brazilian women here together with us. And I invite you, first of all, Cici, that is in charge of the consider the industrial policy, how we go to circular economy, how we go to green economies with robust. It's not only will, it's ambition, and what we need to change in a country like Brazil. It's very complex to jump into supply chains, for example, in commodities. Brazil took important decisions about our future in the past. What are the new decisions that must be taken today in Brazil? Not only regulatory arrangements, but the political vision, consider you. Tell me, based on your experience, you are young, what we need to change to move the peace faster than they're doing today? What the challenge of a society, a huge country that you are, the diversity of the society, to come with industrial policies, to come to discuss business, to understand how must be productivity and have productivity and competitiveness in Brazil, in national, international market, to have a power, really a huge national market. For consumers, it's very important. Okay, 75% of the beef production in Brazil, they are consumed by Brazilians. So if Brazilians are consuming beef without deforestation, the world will buy beef without deforestation. So this is our challenges, to use the new lens to make sure how you have a power today and responsibility. I know what it means, okay? And tell me, where would you like to put your coins that we need to change in Brazil? Not what you're doing in the government, your feelings, okay? How important it is to change, and also how you should be committed when you go into government. And after this, the same question for you that I invite you to come consider the business sector. What are the big challenges consider the business sector to come into this context to discuss circularity, bioeconomy, the green emerging economies that demands infrastructure, logistics, costs, technologies, etc., etc. Tell me, how would you like to manage things in 5 minutes? Of course, you need to share your thoughts, but manage things to be not only impactful, but to avoid setbacks in the next 10 years. If you want, you can speak in Portuguese, okay?
Boa tarde a todas
She will
as
speak in
pessoas.
Portuguese, great.
Boa tarde a todas as pessoas e, inicialmente, eu queria cumprimentar a mesa, grandes mulheres aqui presentes e a plateia. Então, essa pergunta é bem difícil. A gente, nesse desafio de tornar o setor produtivo mais circular ou circular na forma econômica, a gente tem que mudar a mentalidade das pessoas. E, para mudar a mentalidade das pessoas, a gente tem que, muitas vezes, fazer muitas alianças. Na verdade, a gente precisa de alianças e precisa de aliados, para que a gente faça de uma forma diferente. Então, eu queria contar um pouco de como a gente está trabalhando a Estratégia Nacional de Economia Circular no MDIC, no Ministério do Desenvolvimento, Indústria, Comércio e Serviços, em conjunto com o Ministério do Meio Ambiente e com o Ministério da Fazenda. E pensando aqui no empoderamento feminino, a gente, no MDIC, nós estamos dando um recorte de gênero a essa política. Por quê? Porque a crise climática não é gênero neutra. como a Aline falou aqui, a reciclagem, o setor de reciclagem, esse trabalho árduo que as cooperativas e as catadoras de materiais recicláveis fazem, também não é gênero neutro, tem cor e tem raça, como ela falou. Então, como é que a gente vai fazer uma mudança, promover uma mudança de mentalidade se a gente continuar trabalhando nos padrões anteriores? Nos padrões e nos modelos mentais anteriores, que a gente sabe que é um modelo que foi estruturado pelo patriarcado. Para a gente promover esse modelo, e pensando que as mulheres são as grandes afetadas em relação à crise climática, nós não podemos fazer essas mudanças sem as mulheres, sem um recorte, sem um olhar diferenciado para a política. Então, no MDIC, no Ministério do Desenvolvimento, nós começamos a trabalhar a Estratégia Nacional de Economia Circular com um grupo que foi criado, chamado Grupo Elas na Economia Circular. E não é um grupo simplesmente para fazer um purple washing, como as pessoas falam. A gente trouxe um documento que deu origem ao decreto presidencial que institui a Estratégia Nacional de Economia Circular. Foi um documento que foi trabalhado inicialmente por essas mulheres, que são de vários setores, sociedade civil, de ONGs, tem várias aqui que estão presentes nesse grupo. A Aline faz parte, a Kathleen faz parte, tem outras, a Fernanda do Penuma faz parte, tem outras mulheres aqui em outros painéis. Então, a gente trabalhou esse documento e o decreto em vigor, ele tem um item específico que garante a transição justa, abordando disparidades de gênero, cor e de gênero, etnia e socioeconômicas. Então, a gente está fazendo um trabalho que as mulheres participem desde o começo, porque se a crise climática não é gênero neutro, não podemos discutir nada que afetem mais as mulheres sem as mulheres. Então, a gente produziu 2 mesas de diálogos e nós conseguimos trabalhar questões específicas no decreto e, posteriormente, no Plano Nacional de Economia Circular, também teremos ações específicas para as mulheres. Porque a gente sabe que, nessa economia verde, estudos indicam que, em 2030, serão gerados cerca de 67 milhões de novos empregos, mas, possivelmente, só 25% desses empregos sejam voltados para as mulheres. Então, como é que a gente está? A gente está numa situação em que as mulheres são mais afetadas e que as mulheres, sim, trabalham para a sustentabilidade, mas os empregos de maior capacitação, que são engenharia, construção, no setor de óleo e gás, são empregos masculinos. Não, nós temos que fazer uma mudança aí. E a mudança que a gente vai fazer é fazendo a política conjuntamente com as mulheres que trabalham na economia circular, para que a gente consiga mudar essa realidade, para a gente consiga enfrentar esses desafios que a ministra comentou, que são desafios de mudança de modelo mental. Nós não podemos continuar trabalhando no mesmo padrão, no padrão anterior mental, porque isso não é mais sustentável. Então, nós precisamos de um olhar específico de gênero para essa política.
Obrigada. I have to manage time, so I will manage something here and change something here in such a way that all of you can share new thoughts after, okay, you have the opinion of Tarsila, not Tarsila, it's Ali, no, Fabiana. Scheiße. So, Fabiana, you are from business sector, you're from tourism sector, but you play in Amazon region. Okay, and Amazon region is not only important for climate security, for nature security, it's so complex. It's really, in Brazil, it's around 60% of our national territory, and the Brazil has a domain around 70% of the tropical forest considered Amazon basin, 68% indeed, together with Peru, Ecuador, and other ones. But when you go there, you have different stereotypes when you consider women in Amazon region. It's not only the indigenous, the black women, but women that came from migration, national migration. And also, you have the presence, unfortunately, of illegalities that comes together, for example, with economic sectors. This is absolutely critical when you come, for example, illegal gold mining and the pressure on women, the violence against women. You know, even in indigenous lands. Okay? And tell us your experience to play as a private player in an important economic sector for Brazil and for Amazon region, your ambition and your courage to come in that region, that to have lack of infrastructure, lack of logistics, take more, sometimes 5 days from a capital in Amazon region and to cross Amazon region to achieve some villages, etc., on boat. Yes, nobody has a dimension of how huge Amazonia is. And also how complex it is, considering the role of the women to preserve the forests, to promote new economies, to work hard, to have voice, and more than this, to have really the responsibility to change. And you're so young. You took the decision, you have a career in other sectors, I mentioned before, and you took the decision to move there and to work there. Tell us, you have 5 minutes here, share your vision and tell me, or tell us better, if you come to you, say, what would you like to change now? Okay, to be transformative. Tell me what's the critical issue that must be changed considering public policies and also private sector engagement to make William Amazonia safer than we are today. Back to you, thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you, everybody. And I go on in Portuguese because it's quite a very difficult question, so I feel more comfortable. A escolha pela Amazônia, há 18 anos atrás, eu sou de São Paulo, formada em administração, trabalhei em banco, trabalhei em multinacional.
Fabiana, devagar, you have to use. Okay, because you speak in Portuguese.
Sorry,
just wait a minute. Look, it's okay? Far, it's okay for you?
Sorry,
Go ahead, please.
Do you prefer going on in English? Okay, sorry. E aí a escolha pela Amazônia foi uma decisão de procurar um projeto mesmo de vida e um trabalho que trouxesse um significado maior do que as minhas experiências anteriores, né? E eu era recém-casada e meu marido era tão maluco quanto eu, né? Nós fomos considerados malucos na época. E a ideia de ter escolhido o lugar que nós escolhemos, que foi em Novo Airão, é uma cidade a 3 horas de Manaus. E na época era com balsa, então eram 5 horas de viagem. Foi porque, quando a gente chegou ali, era a imagem do Sebastião Salgado que a gente via em todas as fotografias. E era tão bonito, e a gente falou, olha, será que a gente consegue uma terra aqui que tenha título definitivo, que seja legalizada, que era a nossa maior preocupação, era ter um território legalizado, porque no Brasil isso também é uma questão importante, a questão da terra, infelizmente, tem várias questões, né, entre todos os outros temas.
In Amazon region, we have really a complex situation go to legalizing public lands. Okay, used to have invasion public lands, deforestation, illegal deforestation, how if you want to come to Amazonia to buy a farmer, you need to be really, to understand better the legal arrangements that must be fulfilled to buy a legalized land, and not to buy something that will stimulate the organized crime or illegal crime, the crimes to promote deforestation. So we will have to go there and to understand better the situation in that region. And it's so complex, sometimes, in some places.
E aí, então, a gente conseguiu esse sítio, como nós chamamos, esse pequeno pedaço de terra, e decidiu que ali ia ser nosso projeto. E a gente escolheu o turismo porque a gente entendia que era uma forma que era poderosa, tanto para a população local, porque você gera uma série de empregos que não necessariamente vão necessitar de uma mão de obra, de pessoas extremamente qualificadas. Lembrando que a gente está numa região do Brasil de grande maioria analfabeto funcional, então o problema da educação ali é bem importante. E a gente também considerou que o turismo, quando um turista chega ali na Amazônia, ele olha e ele mexe o coração dele, por mais que ele seja alguém a favor da soja, não que eu seja contra, mas da exploração ilegal da floresta, eu diria assim, quando ele olha onde a gente está, não tem como a pessoa não se chocar e falar, acho que é importante manter a floresta de pé. Então, a gente acreditava nisso, a gente ainda acredita, são 18 anos trabalhando nisso. E aí, agora, trazendo um pouco da nossa experiência com o papel da mulher nesse cenário todo, desde o começo, o meu acordo com meu marido, que ainda é meu marido, mesmo depois de uma sociedade que não é algo muito simples, a gente tinha um contrato muito claro e definido quais eram as responsabilidades de cada um, que cada um tinha que entregar, e quais eram os retornos e a divisão do lucro ou do dinheiro que poderia vir com isso. E acho que essa filosofia e esse jeito de trabalhar, ele foi refletindo em todos os cargos ali da nossa empresa. Hoje são 120 funcionários, ela é pequena, média empresa, mas a gente segue essa filosofia em que as pessoas elas têm que ser remuneradas pelas responsabilidades que elas têm, e não porque elas são homens ou mulheres, e de fato, elas precisam ser transparentes, a gente precisa saber o que está sendo considerado, o que está sendo avaliado no nosso trabalho. Então, acho que isso é uma coisa importante que os empresários deveriam cuidar. E aí, uma outra coisa que eu acho importante é que, desde o começo, a gente nunca pensou assim, o que vale é o lucro pelo lucro, e também acho que quem ainda pensa nisso, essa empresa está fadada sei lá, a longo prazo, a chegar ao fim. Mas a pensar que a gente está ali por conta dos funcionários, a gente está ali por conta do cliente, a gente está ali por conta do meio ambiente e todo o entorno que está com a gente. Então, a gente só cresce se todo mundo crescer junto, senão não faz sentido também estar ali, né? E aí também, quando a gente começa a falar em igualdade de responsabilidades, de cargos, plano de carreira e salários, a gente percebe os vieses que a gente traz nas seleções de pessoas. Então, é muito comum um homem selecionar um homem e é muito comum uma mulher selecionar um homem. E aí a gente percebe, e aí é importante falar sobre isso, trabalhar isso com os cargos de liderança e gestão, para que isso venha à consciência e a gente perceba, mas por que eu ajo dessa forma? O que me leva a fazer isso, né? E aí a gente começou a pensar quais são as características, habilidades, competências que as pessoas precisam ter para, de fato, ocuparem aqueles cargos. Será que todo mundo no hotel precisa falar inglês? Será que todo mundo precisa ter experiência prévia? E quando você começa a flexibilizar essas qualificações, você começa a perceber que abrem outras portas para mais pessoas. Então, eu acho que isso é importante, todo mundo pensar, de fato, quais são as qualificações que são necessárias. Porque, senão, você vai criando um ciclo virtuoso, não, vicioso, que é as pessoas mais experientes costumam ser homens, e você contrata homens, e aí eles continuam os mais experientes, e as mulheres não assumem gestões, não assumem lideranças, e assim por diante. Falando também um pouco sobre os desafios dessa região que a gente está, que é uma região que tem pressão e extrativismo ilegal de madeira, que tem exploração de garimpo, que tem uma série de problemas ali, a gente tenta lidar muito participando dos conselhos, dos municípios e de todos os órgãos que a gente consegue dar palpite, somos bons palpiteiros. E a gente tenta estabelecer um padrão de ética, eu acho que é isso. A gente tem código de conduta com fornecedor, a gente tem código de conduta pública, a gente martela e enche a paciência de todo mundo. Então, são 18 anos, já passaram uma série de prefeituras ali, e a gente continua firme e forte, dando palpite e tentando melhorar a situação. Desculpa se eu me alonguei.
Obrigada. Não, assim, eu acho que foi ótimo. Eu acho que a Fabiana trouxe para a gente uma visão como, primeiro, né, ela se move por paixão, literalmente. A sua fala traduz claramente uma paixão, né? Você consegue viver uma vida e depois vou mudar, motivada por imagens do Sebastião, do Tião Salgado, meu amigo pessoal, que é um famoso fotógrafo brasileiro, e mais do que isso, carrega o marido junto, né? Não se apaixona e vai com o marido para a Amazônia empreender, né? E a visão da empreendedora, que tem que preservar um casamento, né? Entender as relações com os municípios, as relações políticas, entender os handicaps de contratação de mão de obra local, entender as realidades de pessoas não educadas, com o nível de educação que você precisa ter para poder trabalhar no sistema de hotelaria, lidar com a ambição política de construir e econômica, de construir um business e permanecer com o business, né, e ainda se sentir linda. Né? A mulher tem essa coisa de, não é linda pela pessoa física, não, é você se sentir inteira como mulher. Tá? A gente tem essa dimensão conosco. Tá? Me sinto muito, rapazes, vocês não têm que evoluir muito. Mas tem uma coisa de mulher de falar assim, yes, I got it. Tá? E você tem isso na sua fala. É super bonito, aliás, todas tiveram, do seu jeito, todas compartilharam isso. A gente agora vai ter que, I'm sorry, now I have to go to the last part of our session, because the time is over. We are in Brazil, so it used to be, the time is over here. But to have lunch, I would like to suggest a new dynamic to be efficient, time efficient. But for this, we need to come together, okay? This means that I'll give you 1 minute from you, Fala, to Cici, the last one, 1 minute. You learn something with our sisters here together. Of course that you learn, okay? I learned a lot, okay? And tell me, or tell us, in 1 minute, what did you learn? What is new for you? What's the new perception that, okay, I know about this, but I didn't know how this happened in a country like Brazil or Latin America. Or the new way to the indigenous people to come, for example, and to show us, or show us the challenge that you have today. So 1 minute based on what did you learn here, share your thoughts, okay? And after this, I invite Elisa to join us here, okay, to the closing remarks, but when she will come, we'll have the video for our friends that's not here from Zambia, and she will do the close remarks in 2 minutes. And after this, you can have lunch and drink caipirinha. It's a good dream, no? I hope so. That's really good. Go there. This is from Belém, okay, where you have COP next year. Yeah, it's really good. It's from Amazon Cuisine. It's really good. It's different, okay, but good. So you have the floor. Me? Yes, yeah, go.
So, what did I get to learn today? I wish I had 1 minute to think about it as well, because there were so many good thoughts to absorb. But I think today's discussion was a reflection again on what I always believe in, the power of the collective, and how individual perspectives, individual stories, personal stories, professional responsibilities, all of them, they come together as a collective. And that is why I feel that any goal that we're looking to achieve, such as women's economic empowerment and sustainable consumption and production, should be achieved through a collective vision and collective tangible action. By bringing diverse stakeholders together. It was beautiful today how all of us had a very diverse story, and I was, I did not know about indigenous people and what they're doing, about what the government of Brazil is doing, about your amazing, inspiring story. It was just, I think it's the power of the collective to talk to each other, to connect with each other, to stop working in silos and collaborate, so that we have more collective collaborative action on this agenda. Yeah.
Great. So, Tarsila, what did you learn?
Okay, thank you. I learned so much, but the conclusion is that we need each other, and we need to talk. We need to share attitudes, issues, and vision, no? Because in this case, business, okay, what we, each of us do is very important. When you talk about indigenous women from your area, you need to listen to them, how they want to be better, and how we or they want to share the territory, trying to take care for future. When you made a tourism in your area, how they are participating in the decision maker and in the result of economic result of that activity. I think we need each other and we need to listen together. Thank you.
And talk together. Listen and talk together. Okay? Thank you very much. Cici, please. Por favor.
O que eu aprendi aqui, na verdade, é uma coisa que eu já tinha começado a pensar e aqui para mim ficou mais claro, que foi o que as duas primeiras colegas falaram, que nós precisamos nos conectar, porque nós precisamos de aliados, e nós somos as nossas aliadas. Os homens, e aqui não é guerra de sexo, mas eles protegem as suas ideias. Eles lutam pelas ideias deles. E muitas vezes isso não acontece quando uma mulher dá uma ideia. E tem essa diferença, tem esse cuidado, tem esse olhar de sustentabilidade. Então, nós precisamos sermos aliadas umas das outras, levar umas das outras para os cargos que decidem, e pensando, não com aquela síndrome da abelha rainha, de que eu cheguei no topo e eu não... Não. Temos que ser generosas com nós, com as outras mulheres, porque muitas vezes, até na fala da Fabiana aqui, às vezes, a gente vai escolher uma mulher para representar alguma coisa, para alguma... A gente é muito mais criteriosa na escolha dessa mulher do que se fosse na escolha de um homem, porque nós aprendemos a ser assim. Então, nós temos que ser aliadas umas das outras e fortalecer a nossa conexão. Obrigada.
Obrigada. Agora, Fabiana. Um minuto, hein, Fabiana?
Eu prometo
Eu já
ser
sei
bem
que você é
rápida.
apaixonada pelo seu marido.
Eu
Bora.
queria agradecer por estar aqui, por ter falado essas palavras, e queria dizer que eu também concordo. Acho que o diálogo, a troca, o ouvir e o falar são fundamentais. Acho que as mulheres precisam, sim, se colocar. Acho que a gente tem uma barreira, e falo por mim, quando eu falo a gente, eu falo por mim, que é esse medo de não estar preparada, de não saber o suficiente, e acho que isso é comum muito no nosso gênero. Então, convido todas a arriscarem, a tentarem, a serem chamadas de malucas, e que o resultado pode dar muito certo. Acho que é isso.
Está ótimo essa. Aline, por favor, um minuto, além dos 7 filhos.
Um desafio falar em um minuto. Terminar,
Pois
né,
é, mas
concluir.
esse é o change.
Mas eu não vou ficar
O challenge.
não vou ficar com o pé no almoço da galera aí, senão eu vou apanhar ali na saída. Mas também quero agradecer a oportunidade e dizer que o maior aprendizado que tem aqui é poder ver que o empoderar é falar, é se posicionar. Então, como catadora, e poder ouvir aqui a experiência de cada uma, aqui para mim foi um ambiente de conhecimento. Então, você pode empreender sem prejudicar o meio ambiente, gerando emprego e renda, né, tendo um olhar para o recorte de gênero. Você pode trabalhar uma implementação ou elaboração de uma política pública com a participação dos principais atingidos e atingidas. Você pode trabalhar para proteger o meio ambiente ou o seu território, né, as guardiãs aí da floresta, né, que é a nossa população indígena. Então, aprendi muito aqui. E ainda mais é uma honra estar aqui novamente ao lado da ministra Isabela Teixeira. Muito obrigada.
Obrigada. Eu acho bom. I think that we do have a good debate, absolutely in a different way that the United Nations prepared this. I know that's why Mara is crying now. She's crying. But look, I took a decision to do something very informally because we are real. And I believe that we as women, we can be easier informal than men. Okay, and this is very important because when you go into negotiations and you go to hard task, you have the close meetings, etc., there is a momentum that we understand that we are people, okay, and we must be informal. That's why I have a lot of friends, because even if I have the power, the political power, etc., we need to be informal, and women understand this very well. That's why you mentioned you should come together, all of you, we should come together, we need to listen, and we need to talk together. And we can talk together if we can be informal, okay? And this is very, very important. All of you share your thoughts, your experience, your views, your faith also, okay? This is part of. You know this a lot, you know, Elisa, but more than this, don't give up on us. Never. Never give up, okay? And informality is really a close friend. because at least when can go there, come on, Father, sit down here, like to share some. So yes, let's think about it. Isabella, I'll call you later to understand, and we'll move the pieces. This is the way that only women can do, okay, play informal more than this, and not necessarily bring formalities as part of this dialogue. So thank you very much for joining us. Now we'll go to the end of the session. You have the video from our friends from Zambia. And after the video, that will take 1 minute, no? Okay, please. I'd like to invite, she's here, okay, my friend. It's true. Elisa, you're the head of division of resources and marketing. He's so powerful in UNEP. Okay, yes, true. I just know this is Elisa. Okay, hello, etc. Because we're informal. But she'll do the closing remarks, and I'm sure that we learn a lot. It's also the new way to come with sustainable consumption productions. It's not the old way that we frame the past, how important our choices are to change things in short perspectives. And you can become sustainable consumption influencers. Okay, I hope so. Thank you very much again for joining us. We have the video now, and after this, Elisa will have the floor. And I hope that you enjoy Rio de Janeiro. Go to the beach tomorrow. It's great. You can stay during the weekend, enjoy. Go to samba to enjoy your life, you smile, kiss your love, and be happy. Don't forget it, okay?
Over the last 5 years, I have been leading an initiative called Inkaya. As an ode to ancestral earth, it is oriented around skills training and employment opportunities for women in rural southern Zambia. Our programming seeks to nurture collaborative and imaginative ways to achieve sustainable development across the artisanal sector. This approach combines 3 main pillars: ancestral knowledge, climate mitigation solutions, and creative expression. Being dedicated to reconstituting the fractured relationship between indigenous people and our natural environments, we introduce and revive a range of telluric ancestral practices, such as non-toxic natural dyeing, as well as incorporate new adaptive techniques such as the production of upcycled glass beads using discarded bottles. Through the implementation of this approach, we are continually working alongside and supporting women of all ages in communities such as Nakatindi and Simonga. Both of these communities are challenged with low educational and employment rates for women as a result of a highly gendered society. Addressing these challenges through Inkaya and our partner organizations and programs has resulted in the creation and expansion of spaces in which our community of women have become active participants and in many ways leaders in building sustainable futures for themselves and for their communities. It is crucial for women to play our full part in building a more sustainable economy, because our participation ensures diverse perspectives, fosters innovation, and promotes equity.
This is fantastic and so beautiful. Impressive. Thank you. Thank you. Say my best to her, okay? Really, really good. Only to remember you, that probably you don't know, but it's a spoiler. Next year, Brazil will host not only COP30 and BRICS Plus meeting, Brazil will host the World Circular Economy Forum, okay, in São Paulo. And back-to-back to this forum, you have International Resource Panel, first meeting in Brazil. All the scientists of circular economy will be here. I will be co-chairing together with Yanis Potocnik, and I hope that you can join our meeting. So for you that have been working hard in circular economy, I suggest to come closer. This will happen in São Paulo in Fiesp, okay? And probably you have some section to dialogues with Brazilian society and manage this, to come with the scientists of circular economy, of global resource outlook, everything together with UNEP team, and sustainable consumption production is part of this. So I hope that you can join us, the Brazilians, and another one that come back to Brazil next year and enjoy 2025 in my country. Elisa, finally you have the floor.
Thank you very much. And as it happened with all the other speakers, I'm going to scrap my notes because it's impossible to do conclusions of a session on the basis of a script when we heard all these energy and all these emotions during the session. So I'm not going to summarize what happened, but I'm going to start by thanking you, Isabella. Thanking you, Fiza. Gracias, Tarsila. Obrigada, Sisi. Obrigada, Fabiana. Obrigada, Aline. And thanks to Fabienne, who has been pulling us all together here in the panel. This has been really an extremely inspiring session. And one of the messages that stayed with me a lot was very much around being purposeful in creating the spaces where we can nurture the leadership, the agency of change of these leaders that are here in the panel. And I think that because of who we are in the UN system, in UNEP, in the One Planet Network, we do have this opportunity and we should not miss it. But here comes with a task for all of us here in the panel and here in the room, a task of knowing that there's a plethora of sessions happening today and tomorrow, so everybody will have to wait until the end of tomorrow to go to the beach. Because
Go early, come here and go back.
Okay. Done deal. But because we need to bring what we discussed here in each and every session, because as Astrid reminded us at the beginning, this is not a separate conversation. It needs to go across everything. So please, you all have a mission. I have a mission as well. Let's bring the wonderful energy and the wonderful messages of this session each and everywhere in all panels, in all plenaries that are happening today and tomorrow and beyond. And we very much look forward to continuing to work with each and every one of you on all the wonderful recommendations that you have put forward for us today. Thank you very much for being with us.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Okay, thank you very much, all of you. We need to take a photo together because she needs this. Okay, it's a woman. Go together. Yes, all of us together. Okay.
É, mas no caso é de lá.
Quer prova?